Hey everybody, welcome to live streaming with Jesse. Today we're going to start a new project and we're going to use React 16, which just came out recently. What was it, last week? It was pretty recently. So there's some cool stuff in React 16. I haven't even gone through all the new stuff yet, so we'll definitely be learning about that together. We use Create React App, just like we did for the last project, and we'll probably end up using Redux and React Router as well. So some new stuff. Definitely haven't done Redux before on a stream, so that'll be cool. And then some of the new React 16 stuff we'll be using. I'm going to show you kind of a preview of what the end result is going to be. And then we'll get started. So this is definitely starting from scratch. You can see my terminal here. There's nothing. I've done nothing to set this up yet, other than have Node and NPM and Yarn installed on my machine. Other than that, it's pretty much from scratch. So let me check. I have some comments here in the live chat. Okay, so Shay says, congrats on your completing your Redux project. I hope you're feeling better today. How are you doing? Okay, so a few of you are asking how I'm doing. So if you saw my tweet yesterday, so yesterday I didn't stream, so sorry about that. I intended to stream, but I saw a doctor in the morning who went over my MRI results. So last week I had an MRI. They had to inject some fluid into my wrist and then do the MRI, and basically they could tell that in my wrist, there's this section of your wrist that has like this triangular formation of ligaments, and it holds some bones in place, and so those ligaments in my wrist are torn. So that's what's been wrong with my wrist since, sometime in July, I think. I know I've complained about it several times on the stream. So anyway, so that's what's wrong with my wrist. I went to go see a surgeon yesterday afternoon, but unfortunately I drove up from where I am to a place near Pittsburgh, and drove all the way there and found out that they don't take my insurance. So I have to wait now until November until that doctor is in Ohio, because if that same doctor sees me in Ohio, my insurance will work. But if I see that doctor in another state, it will not work. So I don't know. I guess that's just how it is. But it was a waste of a trip, and I missed my live stream, so disappointed about that. So I'll probably end up having to have surgery on it at some point. The doctor that I talked to yesterday morning said it should just be like really small incision, so hopefully that works out all right. Said if I decide not to get surgery, it'll be okay. It'll just hurt, and then eventually I'll get arthritis. So I figure surgery is probably the way to go, especially if I plan on typing on a keyboard for the rest of my life. All right, so enough about the wrist, but I appreciate all the concern that you all have shown on Twitter and in here and everything. So all right, I got some new people in the live chat, so welcome. Thanks for joining. And all right, Blake just submitted his first PR. Awesome, congratulations. Okay, all right, so let's get started. I'm going to start this, and we're going to do 25 minutes of coding. Well, we're not really going to code that much at first. We're going to be doing some commands on the command line to get it set up. We're going to do that for about 25 minutes. That's going to include me going over what the project requirements are. And then we'll take a 5-minute break, do question and answer. We're going to do at least 2 sessions of coding, maybe 3. And we're going to work on this probably not every day. I got some other projects going on as well, so we're going to switch it up. We're going to go back to project 1, do some updates. But whenever I get a chance, I do want to come back to this and do this project. So there's not there's not a hard deadline on this project, but it's something that I think it does need updated. So I'm just going to work on it as I can. Okay, so this is the objective here. Last year, so probably last summer, so the summer of 2016, I spent working on this bulletin. So our old university bulletin was a Word document sent by email. So this is definitely an upgrade from that. It allows us to put in videos, a lot more pictures, just a lot more content in general, without having to have this really giant Word document. Easier to handle attachments. So there definitely benefits. Also, there's now a record of everything that's ever been in the bulletin, and it's all searchable. So our project basically is going to pull from the WordPress API, like we did with Project 1. So it's going to pull posts from the WordPress API and display them. We have two different display options. Well, actually more than two. So we have this grid view or the list view. We also have a print view because a lot of people missed that they didn't have the Word document, so I added the print view in. Basically, vice presidents and stuff are used to having their secretaries print out the bulletin for them and put it on their desk. So I got some calls from secretaries or administrative assistants that were asking, hey, I want to be able to print this out. So that's why I did the print view. Also, we have the classic mode, which was put in there for people who are nostalgic for the old style. And this is pretty much as an exact replica as I could get of the old bulletin. So same font and the Word document style. So basically, those are the views. So it's going to have 4 different views. It's going to have a place to submit announcements, and that includes a file upload. Which we've done before, so no big deal. We can filter by date. We have all the categories that we can filter by. We're going to have a help section, which right now just has some text and some embedded YouTube videos that I made, and that's about it. It does have an infinite scroll function, so you keep scrolling down, it just keeps loading new bulletin posts. So anyway, those are the requirements. Things that will change, we'll definitely go with a new look like we did with the Resource Center. So we'll have the new logo, the white header up here. One thing that will be different is the sidebar is always open on large screens. So this is cool. I do want to redo this. Once I redo this in React, I think it would be really cool to also redo this in React Native. So that's a possibility. Not sure if I could convince my boss that that's really a priority, but it would be cool if we could do it. The other requirement is, and this is the big deal that's been giving me kind of a headache, right? So it was decided that you would need to log in to be able to see this. But we did a survey, and users, so this is an internal site, so users here at the university did not want to have to remember another password to log in. So I set up a passwordless login system where if they put in their university email address, they will get an email, they click the link in the email, it logs them in, and then it saves the login credentials in local storage. And that will persist unless they choose to log out or empty, their local storage in their browser somehow. For a year, they'd stay logged in. But the problem has been, for some reason, some users do empty out their local storage frequently, and that's why they have to keep logging in. But some users seem to have to log in way more frequently than once a year, so it's been kind of annoying to them. And in some cases, I've been able to find why it does that, but it's difficult. I have to actually go around to each computer, do troubleshooting. And there's not really been one common issue. So that's something that I'd really like to I'd like to find another way to have people log in without having to put in a password. So some sort of passwordless login. The university is, at the end of this month, they're supposed to implement a single sign-on system. It'd be great if I could integrate it with that. And that's part of the reason why I want to redesign this, because if I'm going to go into this, right now this is just jQuery, it's not React. If I'm going to go in and make major changes to how the login system works, then I don't want to mess around with all that jQuery, which I'm sure is probably a mess. I mean, I made it all, so it's my own fault, but I don't want to go back in and mess with it. I'd rather just redo it now as React, with React, and then that way, when we implement the system, I can try to integrate it into there. I need to talk to the people in the IT department that are in charge of that and see what's possible. Or I'm not even sure how they're doing their single sign-on. I don't know if it's like LDAP system or Active Directory. So I still have to find out some more things. So we may not have to do our own login system. Hopefully we can just use that system. But for now, we don't really have to worry about that. We'll just build out the UI, pull in the posts from the WordPress API, and it shouldn't be too hard. All the big decisions are made already, right? All, you know, how the UI works, all the views. So I usually, when I start a project, I don't think it'll be too hard, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, so first things first, and also once we get to the end, I want to go over a few pull requests I've got in, so try not to let me forget that. When we do our final question and answer session at the end, I'll start out by going over some of the pull requests. So let's go into my projects folder. That's where I keep everything, and let's we have Create React App installed, right? Let's bring up the documentation first so that everyone can see what we're doing and can follow along. So let's find, there we go. Create React App. Okay. I wonder if I need to update Create React App. I don't know. So I'm going to do, oops. I don't know if I've ever done this with your npm. Is it update? No, I can't remember. Going back and forth from npm and yarn. Let's do this. Let's copy and paste it. Whoops. I didn't mean to copy and paste that part. Okay. Alright. This is what I wanted to copy. I think I have this. Maybe I didn't have it installed globally. Alright, good thing I did that. Okay, cool. Alright, so now we'll run Create React App. Let me make this a little bit bigger so everybody can see. Alright. Create React App. And let's call this Bulletin React. Okay, so that's step one. Well, really step two. Step one was install Create React App globally. We do it globally, right, because we haven't even made the project yet, right? So we want to be able to use this to create, you know, even the project folder and everything. So now it's going to do its thing. So Create React App is now installing obviously React, Webpack, all the dependencies that it needs, and there you go, done. Not bad, under 30 seconds. So you can see there's a lot of stuff here. So it's pretty awesome. All this stuff gets installed, and it's ready to go. It's ready for us to, right, you can see the instructions here. Not that hard. Like right now, if we typed yarn start, we have an app. So actually, let's do that. Yarn start. Whoops. I got a CD. All right, we got to go into our project folder. It's amazing how many times I do that when I start a project like this, and I forget to CD into the actual project folder. So let's type in yarn start, and this should start up. So I have a lot of other stuff running right now, so it's not going to run on the default localhost. I did not want it to run in that window. Oh well, but you can see right now it's running, right? So we're using React. So it's that easy that, I mean, technically we have React up and running, it's working, it's just the default, but I mean, that was pretty fast. Alright, so let me go back over to where we were. Let's get this running. Localhost, was that 3001? Yeah, okay. Alright, so obviously we're going to remove a lot of this stuff, but let's find our, there we go. So we want to, I'm using iTerm2, and I'm going to duplicate the tab. So I have this other tab now. Since I'm running the server on this tab, I can't really do anything there. So I have another tab that's in the same folder, and now in this tab, this is where we're going to run everything. So I think we'll probably, let's do a little bit before I actually make this a Git repo. I really don't like to make something a Git repo right off the bat, because some of the early steps to set things up are just so basic. I don't know. For me, it's just like, why clutter up my repo with some of that stuff? All right, so I do want to open up Atom. So I'm going to use Atom for this project as my editor, and it opened on the wrong screen. So let me pull this over to my other screen. And I hope that my machine can handle all this. I have so many projects open right now. Let's see. There we go. And we'll make this full screen for now. Alright, so here's our project. You can see in our package JSON we have React 16. Okay. Really basic right now. We're going to pull in a lot of things. We have some basic, setup things that we've been doing for all of our projects on the stream. So our basic linting, auto formatting with prettier standard JS. We're definitely going to bring that on. We're going to bring in React Router. We're going to bring in Redux. Yeah, so why don't we bring in all that stuff now, and we'll set that stuff up before we even work at all on any of the UI. So let's see. I actually think I remember most of these commands, so I don't think I'll have to look up the documentation for some of these, since I've been using these in my my other side projects lately. So we should be able to just do yarn add React router DOM. Okay, so if we're using it for the web, we want React Router DOM. There's other versions of React Router for React Native, so I'm going to make sure we get the right version. And then also we want Redux. Actually, I'm pretty sure it is Redux, but I do want to double check to make sure that is the correct thing. So we had, I don't know, like a month or so ago, there were npm packages that were named like slightly different than the normal package that you're supposed to download, and actually had malicious code in it. So now I double check. There we go, Redux. On my other screen, I was just trying to look up Redux. Yep, it is Redux. Okay. All right, so DOM and Redux. All right, so this is going to install that. All right, awesome. So that was really fast. Let's confirm, right? We now have Redux, and we have React Router DOM. Great. While we're at it, let's bring in Prettier and Standard JS, right? We don't really have that much by way of code, but we may as well bring it in right off the bat. And I found before, if I work on a project for a while and then bring in Standard JS in Prettier and in Husky and we auto format, then I get a lot of errors. And it's a lot harder to work through that. So if I bring it in right off the bat, then I make little changes and tests. So it's a lot easier to catch the errors and work through them. And the code is just cleaner right off the bat. Otherwise, it ends up being a mess after a while. So let's bring that in. And for that, I'm just going to go to, let me find a project where I'm already using it. So this is Resource Center. Okay, so we're using this in the Resource Center already. Let's check out our package Json, and we will need this part of it. So we're I'm going to copy as much of this as I can. Let's copy this. Let's copy, goodness. All right, so we have a lot of stuff here. We're not going to copy everything. Or I should say, we're not going to keep everything, but we'll copy it and then take out what we don't need. So let's copy this for now and put this down here. So right now, we don't need, all of these, right? We're going to leave state in there. We're going to need that eventually. So we'll probably need these at some point. So I'm just going to leave them in here. This is going to make sure we don't get errors from using these. Oops. I copied one extra curly. Whoa. What do I got on here? Oops, I forgot a comma. Okay. There we go. I love syntax highlighting. Helps to find errors so quickly. Immediately I saw red there, and I knew I never see red in a package JSON with the color scheme that I have. So I just knew. I just don't realize how much it helps until I try to do something without it, and then it's just so hard to look at code without highlighting. Okay. So we have this, we don't need, let's see, we're not going to run. I'm going to run this. Do we need node fetch? Probably at some point we'll need it. I'm going to take out Nightmare for now. We may end up using this for testing at some point, but right now I'm going to leave it off. Probably need this. Okay, we'll need. Okay, that looks good. I'm not sure about all of these that we'll need, but that's close enough. What I'll probably want to do as well is update these, so we'll do that too. Now we don't have our scripts. Let's find, what project was it? Let's look. We have a lot more going on here with our scripts. but at least we can find the lint and pre-commit. And let's see, that might be enough just to get us started. So lint is going to run all of this, then pre-commit. Actually, I need to grab Actually, we might be good with that to start. Test without watch. We're not going to run the test because we didn't bring that in yet. So, okay, that should be good enough. There may be some other stuff in here that we'll want to bring in after a while. But this is quite enough for right now. All right, so I'm going to save that. And then we're going to run yarn, and that's going to install. Whoa, what happened? I got an error. Unexpected token. So I have something in here that should not be here. I think it's that one. You can't have a trailing comma. Yep, that was it. So that'll run. If you didn't catch that, I've had this happen to me several times. The last item in an array or in an object can't have a comma, or else you'll get an error. Okay, cool. So that looks like it worked. But what I also want to do, since it's possible that some of these packages have received upgrades since we started the last project, I just want to upgrade them right now before we get too involved. It should be easier to find any issues with them before we have other things going on. So I think is it yarn upgrade? It's either yarn upgrade or yarn update. All of your dependencies are up to date. Okay, cool. I'm actually really surprised by that. Is that the right way? Okay, that's not it. That must be it. That must be the command. I just really thought that there would have been some newer versions of these. Okay. It's possible that I did update that project recently and I just don't remember. Okay, so let's see what we have. Alright, we do have some JavaScript files in here already that we can try to run the lint on and see if it changes anything. So let's run lint. Oops. Yes. URL is not defined in the service worker. Alright, so let's add that. So this is why we have this down here, this globals. You can pull this out into a separate file which I've done sometimes, but our package JSON is really not that big, so I don't mind putting it in here for now. If it got huge, I would definitely pull it out though. Okay. All right, great. So it ran through. Let's see if it moved anything around. I don't really remember what that looked like well enough to know if it moved anything around. But we'll see it in action later on as we do more. Okay, so that's the end of the first Pomodoro session. We have React. We ran Create React Apps. We have React installed with all the cool stuff that comes along with Create React App. We have installed Redux and React Router. We have auto formatting and linting of our code with Prettier, Standard JS, Husky. So every time we go to commit, right, we have this pre-commit hook now that will run our linter. So it'll run lint stage down here, lint stage on any JavaScript file. It will run Prettier, right? We have some parameters here, some flags here for what we want. No semicolons. We want single quotes. And this will actually fix it. It's not just going to give us warnings. It'll change our code, which is awesome. So we'll have a standard style. Even if you get, once we make this a Git repo, if you were to clone this and commit, it would all be formatted the same. And then we'll do a git add. So let me make sure components. All right, this should all work. All right, awesome. So let's do our 5-minute question and answer session, and then we'll come back in. We'll do a little bit more, and we'll make this we'll put this on GitHub before we end as well, and then that way, if you want to review it. Or if you want to just kind of copy it when it's at this early stage and use it as like a boilerplate, that would work too. Okay. Wow, I have quite a lot in the live chat already. Oh, we have a lot of viewers, so awesome. So I imagine there's probably some new viewers. Welcome. I'm doing 5 minutes of question and answer now, but if I don't get to your question, don't worry about it. I'll get to them later on. So at the end, whatever I haven't got to, I'll go through it all and I'll answer all the questions. So if you have a question, just stick around and I will get to it. Okay. So right now I'm just scanning through the live chat looking for any questions. Okay, so also some helpful comments I'll read out as well. I see a lot of you are saying hi and what's up, so hey everyone. So James says, I believe that single sign-on is going to be the best bet. I agree. I'm hoping that I'm going to have a meeting about it on Friday, and I'm going to ask more about the possibility of linking up the bulletin to the single sign-on system. I hope that goes through. I want to get out of the business of handling login issues, because I've gotten quite a few calls and emails about this, and it just takes up a lot of my time. So I think the IT department is more well suited to handle that. They have a help desk and a ticketing system, and actual like employees whose job it is to take calls like that, and so that's not really what my job is, although I've been doing that because I want my stuff to work and I'm upset when it doesn't work, but yeah, definitely think the single sign-on will be the best way to go. Let's see, Fernando says, are you using JSON P? What do you use to fetch JSON P data? No, it's regular JSON. It's not JSON P, so I do use fetch. So currently, in the current jQuery version of this, it's all client-side. So client-side fetch. In this version that we're going to make with React, I'd like to do everything server-side, or at least, I should say this, I don't know that I need to do everything server-side. Potentially we could do some calls client-side. I don't need this to be rendered server-side at all. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. Oh, cool. I see Dennis had said you just install it again to update. So awesome. Thanks. I didn't look up to see you said that, but that was definitely the what I was wondering about. Kevin says in response to the JSON-P question is that JSON-P is a workaround for cores, so the cross-origin requests. If you use your own API or one with Core's header, like the WordPress API, then you don't need to worry about JSON-P. Yeah, that's spot on right there. Yeah, so since we are going to use the WordPress API, we don't have to worry about that. Let's see. Okay, Kevin also said Jesse will probably use native fetch with the polyfill fallback. Yep, exactly. Harshit says try using passwordless npm module for passwordless authentication. Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. I have been checking out some different options. Right now I'm using Auth0 to handle the passwordless stuff, but I think I do want to switch to something else. I mean Auth0 is nice, but the plan, their level of their plan, right now I'm using the free version of Auth0 because there's not that many users, but to get integration with the single sign-on, I'd have to jump up to their business plan, and it's just not worth it for that much money every month for an internal bulletin. So I think we're going to try to go with something else. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to mark down where I left off at in the live chat. Okay. So I did look up on my other screen the passwordless npm package. So I'm going to leave that on my screen so I don't forget, and check that out after the stream. So thanks for that, Harshit. And okay, so let's get back to coding. The last comment I just noticed was just joined and wow, insurance in the U.S. is in bad condition. So yeah, I don't really know how it's like, what it's like in other countries, but here, yeah, insurance is weird in terms of where you can go. Basically, you're kind of limited. So depending on what insurance you have, you may not be able to go to a certain doctor that you want to go to, or a hospital, or I mean, you could always go there and just pay on your own, but that's a lot of money. So yeah. But I mean, the good news is I will go to see the doctor that I want to go see. I just have to wait a little bit longer. So, and it's not, I mean, I'm not going to be in serious trouble by waiting another month. I've already been waiting. I've already been dealing with this for several months, so not that big of a deal. Okay, so the next step. So we have this all running. What's our next step? Oh, let's hook up Redux into our app, and also React Router. Right, we don't really have anything set up for routes, but let's just get this all hooked up now. And so we're going to want to go to our app. I'm actually going to bring up on my other screen, and I'm going to GitHub right now, and I'm going to check out that last Redux project that I did on GitHub that I showed everyone. Was it this? I guess last week I showed everyone. And that is the Udacity React ND readable projects. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. So if you want to check out where I'm getting the code from, since I just implemented Redux with React Router, I'm not going to try to go through documentation again. I'm just going to look at what I did, and so this is it, and this will be probably the last project that I worked on for my own GitHub account. So let's check out our source folder, and I think it's an app.js. Yep, this is it. Alright, so I'm going to move this over so I can copy and paste more easily. But like I said, you can check that out if you want. Okay, so in our app.js, that's in our source folder, and I'll make this a little bigger for you all. So in our source folder, we are going to bring in a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to copy and paste a bunch, and then I'll go through about what all these things are. And we'll end up taking out some stuff eventually, like, you know, logo.svg, things like that. But for right now, it's fine to keep it in. So here's what we brought in. Browser router, route, and switch from React Router DOM. Okay. May or may not use all of these. We can remove the stuff we don't need. We're going to import create store, apply middleware, and compose from Redux. Right. Obviously, I know if you've done this before, this is kind of basic, but for those of you who are new to React, it might be helpful if I kind of go through these. We're importing, now right now we don't have reducers, right? So we're going to have to make that, but we're going to want to bring that in, and we're going to import provider from React Redux and Thunk. Are we going to, actually, I don't know if we'll need Thunk or not. Let me think. Yeah, we might end up needing Thunk. So I should bring that in. So probably what I'll need to do is pull these in so I don't get errors. So let me check the package JSON for this project. Let's see what else I need. And what I forgot to bring in. And I did. I forgot to bring in a few packages. So let's do that right now. So yarn add, we need React Redux and Redux Thunk. There we go. Okay. Make sure I didn't miss anything else. Okay. So now those will load. Well, yeah, we'll let that do its thing. Yep. Coming in. So let's go back over here and continue to add these in. And right now, normally we would import our views, so I'm just going to put some of this here so we don't forget to import our views, and just to see what we would do here. So you don't have to do this in your app.js. If you don't have that many views, I think it's fine, but otherwise you could have like a routes component where you put all your routes in. So we may move it into another component at some point, but for now it's easier to see it all at once like this. So we would bring in, for each like page or each view we wanted, we would import it. So we'd import that component. For now, we don't have any of these created, so I'm going to comment all of them out. And then let's bring in this. All right, so we're going to use this logger. Okay, so we want it, we want more than just the basic Redux, right? We want to bring in some tools to help us figure out what's going on with our store. So that's where some of this comes in. So this is optional, but very helpful. I wouldn't really want to work with Redux without some of these tools to help. I'm pretty new with Redux. Maybe, if someone's more advanced with it, they wouldn't need it, but I definitely need some of this stuff. So this logger, we're going to get a bunch of stuff in our console. Okay. Also, let's bring in compose. Well, let me bring in a few things here. Okay. So this is going to be our DevTools extension. And I think I showed you all that extension last week, and we'll definitely see it again as we work on this project. But this is very helpful. It's going to add another tab onto our DevTools window, and we're going to be able to see a lot of information about our store, right? So while this is definitely useful, this is more user-friendly. So probably not necessary to have both, maybe one or the other. I think, especially in development, more information is better. But I could definitely see, especially with this, your console can get quite cluttered. So it may not be a bad idea to get rid of this if you're trying to hunt out like other errors and it's just too cluttered. But I definitely keep this one. Okay, and then here we're actually creating our store. Now, here's the thing. We are not bringing in that reducer yet. So we're going to at least need to create the file. And I'm not sure if it'll be enough just to create the file or if we'll still get errors. But, I mean, we're definitely going to get an error if there's nothing there at all. And then this is where we pull in our middleware. So we're bringing in, right, our logger, Thunk, our Redux DevTools, right? So we're bringing in Thunk from here, we're bringing in our logger from here, okay? Let's go down a little bit further. So we need to wrap everything in provider. So that way our application has access to the store. Right, so now everything is wrapped in that. Now since we're also using React Router, we're going to wrap everything in Browser Router as well. Okay, so right now we don't have routes, but potentially we could have a setup something like this, where inside of here we don't actually have, whereas right now we have markup for our home page, we would get rid of all the markup there, and inside of this would just be our browser router and then switch and then all our routes. So you could see our home page becomes a component, our home component, right? And here's our other views. So we'll probably end up doing something like this. For now, it's not necessary. We'll have to take a look and just think about all the different routes that we want, and then we'll set those up. Okay, so just gonna look through here quickly just to make sure I haven't missed anything. Oh, we need to make our reducers, right? So let's do that now, or at least make our reducer folder. So reducers. So we're just gonna make, on the command line, we're gonna make directory. So mkdir is make directory. I haven't done this on Windows for a while. Is it the same on Windows? I'm on a Mac right now. It's the same on Linux. I know there are some differences in command line commands on Windows, but haven't done much development on Windows. It's actually been at least 2 years now. So don't remember all the differences. So anyway, we're going to make directory. We're going to call it reducers. Oops, we want it to be in our source folder, and then reducers. Okay, now we're also going to make a file. So we're going to do touch, which is how you make a file. We're going to go into source reducers, and then we want to call this index. Oops, index.js, not HTML. Okay, so now we should be able to see reducers index. Alright, so let's save that. See if we get any errors. Yep, we got an error. What's going on here? Expected the reducer to be a function. Okay, so I do need to do a little bit more than I have done with the reducers. So let's see what's the least I can do and have a reducer. Let's see. And let's see, reducers. Sorry, I'm looking at my other screen. I'm just trying to figure out what's the minimum I could write in my reducer at this point. Oh well. Let's just do this. Let's find our reducer, and let's see if we can get away with doing something like this. So at first, we definitely want to export. We're going to want to bring in combined reducers, so might as well just do it right now. Import. Oops. Okay, so we're bringing that in so we can have more than one reducer. We don't have any actions set up right now, so normally you would import your actions as well, but I don't have that set up. This is the thing about Redux that was frustrating to me when I first did it, is that it doesn't really work unless you have reducers, your store, your actions all in place. So we'll see. I'm not even sure if this will work unless I put in some actions, but let's see. Basically, we're definitely going to need posts. So let's see if we can get posts. Let me make sure I didn't miss something up here. Okay. So we get a function. And we want this to be, let's say, receive post. I'll name it that for now. We could always change it. We're going to make the state. So just by default, we'll have just an empty object for the state. And then, you know what? I think I am going to have to pull in the action. We'll see. We might not. So anyway, here's our action. So what we'll pull in here is our state as a default. So this is a default parameter. So if there is no state passed in, it will default to this. Otherwise, it will take whatever state we pass in. And then inside of here, we want a switch statement, and we want action type. Okay, so if you haven't worked with Redux before, this probably doesn't make very much sense, but what we're going to have is another file called actions. We're going to import that into there. Based on what the type of action is, we're going to want to do something different in this function. So that's what we're pulling in. So if, let's say, if the case is, I don't know, get posts, and I'm open to suggestions for naming because I'm just trying to name whatever I can here based on what I think we'll need. We don't need this break. So if the case is get posts, let's return, and we're going to run a return state, and then we're going to run to return this post, action.post. Let's see. Let's see how we'll, I'm not really sure what I'm naming everything right now, so we'll just put that in there for now. I think that should work. We'll see. We'll get an error if it doesn't. And then we're just going to return state by default. So for right now, we shouldn't get anything because we're not actually passing in anything. So it should just return nothing for the state. And then down here, actually, since we're combining reducers, let's do this. And what we're going to do is, I am going to want to have sorting, maybe a sort function or filter. Let's have some sort of sorting, and for now I'm just going to leave set sorting sorter. Okay, that'll probably make sense later, but I want to keep basically information about how we're going to sort the posts. I'm going to keep that in our store, and then that way it can persist across components, across views more easily. Okay, now let's export. Export defaults, combine. So this is where that combine reducers comes in. Combine reducers, and now we can put together our receive posts and our sorting. Okay. Alright, let's save that and see what kind of errors we get. Get posts not defined, set sorting. Okay, let's define those then. I think we are going to have to make our actions as well. But that's not a big deal. We may as well set the whole thing up now, and it'll be kind of a more complete explanation of everything. So let's import, what do we say, get posts, and what else do we want? Get posts and set sorting from, we're going to say actions. Okay, so yeah, right, so we don't have actions. So now let's make a folder called actions. So let's go back here and say actions. And also we're going to make a file in our actions, and now let's make some actions. And let's put it over here. I'll put them side by side so we can remember what's going on here. Okay, so we're going to, eventually we may have some API calls happening. For now, I'm not going to worry about that. But what we do want to do is export. So we want to export instance git post equals post, and then export set sorting. Okay. And so now we're going to use these constants instead of the strings down here. Also, obviously here, right? Let's see. So let's go. So this is going to be get posts equals where are we at? Posts, and in here we're going to make an object, and we're going to send out. So this is where the type comes in. So you can see over here we want to get action type. Here's the type. So this is where we want to put get posts. Right, so that'll let this reducer know what we want to do. And then we're going to pass in our posts. Okay, and we want to do the same thing for our sorting. So sorter, is that what we called it? No, was it sorting? Set sorting. Set sorting, and let's go sort by. Okay. And set sorting, and then sort by. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I called it sorter, huh? Let's just change it here. These are sort by. Okay. So you can see in both cases what's going to get sent from here. Now, this is not everything, right? We actually, I wonder if I can make it work just like that. Normally I would do more. It might actually work. Let's just see if this works enough to get this to load. Awesome, so it actually did load. So now at least I can show you in DevTools our Redux panel. Okay, so obviously our state, right? So we have two parts to our state. We have that receive posts, and we have sorting, right? And that corresponds to what we've done here: receive posts and sorting. And right now, they're just empty arrays, or I'm sorry, empty objects. If I've been saying arrays, that was on accident. These are objects, so I apologize for that. Right, so right now, that's the end of a 25-minute session, so I'm going to do 5 minutes of questions, but just to summarize, we've got Redux connected here at the root of our app here. We have Redux connected. We've added some middleware, so we have some console logging going on with our store. We have our extension for DevTools, and we have Thunk, which we aren't using yet, but we probably will use later on. We also have brought in React Router, although we haven't done anything with routes yet. It's all ready to go. We've set up our reducers and we've set up some actions. Okay, now we're not entirely finished with our actions, but it's set up enough so that we don't get errors. And we're able to see our state. So, not bad. We've come a long way in our 2 25-minute Pomodoro sessions. So let me start my 5-minute timer, and I'm going to go to the live chat and answer some more questions. All right, so I'm pretty behind on the questions. Thanks for your patience if you're waiting for me to answer your question. Oh, okay, Harsha said if you are using Yarn for everything, try using Yarn Global for global packages. Actually, yeah, I should do that. I don't know why I used NPM and didn't think about using Yarn globally. Anyway, let's see. John Hansen says Yarn start is the easy part. Yes. Yeah. This is all kind of the easy part for right now. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, okay. Harshit says, saying you forgot React Redux. So thanks for that. I didn't see that beforehand. Eventually, I did figure it out though. But thank you for putting that in the live chat for me. Ismail says, how can I get what he's copying? I don't have the project. Actually, here, let me put this on the screen again because this was a different project. So let me copy. Let's see. I'm going to put this link in the live chat right now. And maybe I'll put it. I'm going to try my best to remember afterwards to put it in the description. So that the link I just pasted in is where I was copying a lot of this from. This is a Redux project that I did for my Udacity Nano degree. I just finished it up last week. Actually, I just finished it up over the weekend. I think so. Saturday I finished it. Let's see. Sorry if there was just noise. My mic fell over, so hopefully it's all right now. Oh, okay. Kevin asks if I've used Atom's Git integration. No, I haven't used it yet. I'll have to try it out. So if anybody does use Atom's Git integration, what do you think about it? Is it better than using a separate like terminal to handle all your Git stuff? I wonder. See view. Toggle Git tab. Huh, interesting. You can create a repo right from here. Cool. I'll have to play around with that later on. Patrick caught that trailing comma before I did too, so thanks Patrick, good eye on that one. Let's see. Blake asks, how long does it take to run create React app? I think what it took almost 30 seconds to do it. I'm sure it depends on your computer, but it was pretty fast. Oh, okay. Thank you. So Harshit says use Yarn upgrade with the flag latest. So I'm going to do that now. It's always interesting when this happens to see if anything breaks when you try to use latest, but at the beginning of the project is definitely the time to do something like that. So it looks like only one what has been updated? Is incorrect period. Looks like a lot of warnings, and so I guess a lot did not need to be updated. Okay. Brett says, I typically just watch Jesse's live streams and don't try to follow along, maybe make some notes on paper. When I do create the project, I watch the video and pause if I get stuck. Okay, cool. I actually like hearing how people watch these. I know some people have said that they go back and like they watch the recording on like 2 times speed. Somebody even said they watched it on 4 times speed before. And then I know some of you work on other projects and just kind of listen in the background and join in the live chat, if you hear something that, you're interested in. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I know it's not like the normal coding tutorial video or anything like that. So I think it's cool that there's different ways to handle this live stream. All right, so my 5 minutes is up, and let's see, 2:32. Okay. So I marked down where I stopped in the live chat, and now we've done 2 Pomodoro sessions, which that's usually the minimum. I think I'm going to do 1 more Pomodoro session, and in this session we will definitely commit this. We'll make it a repo, we'll commit it, put it on GitHub. That way you all will have access to all of this, and then we'll see. So probably what I'm going to start with is making it a repo. Actually, just to continue with what we were doing, let's finish off this actions file here, this because we need a little bit more before it'll really be functional. Then we'll commit everything. If we have extra time after that, then we'll move on, see what else we can do. Okay. So what we want to do, let me find, I'm trying to find in my other project the simplest example for now. Most of my actions involve making a call to an API. So I'd rather find a better example. Maybe actually, maybe this is fine. Let me pull over what I've been doing. So I've been doing things like this. So, whoops, is this the right spot? Yeah. So I've been doing things like this where I wouldn't directly call this. I would call like, let's imagine this is fetch post instead of category. So I would call fetch post. Then it would from another file, which would be this API utility, then it would pull in from the API the posts. Then it would call, let's say, get posts and pass that in. But I guess since I'm not doing that right now, this should work. And in this case, directly from a component, I would just dispatch this action and then pass in whatever I want. So for now, I think we'll be fine. But just know that if we wanted to call an API, where we would do it is probably in here. I would put all the API stuff in another file, and then from the component, we would call the action that would then make the API call, and then what gets returned from that call would get passed to another action. This action would only be called from inside of the actions folder anyway, and then that data would get passed to the reducer, and then the reducer is what takes that information and basically, let's see where reducer is. So the reducer would then take that information and do whatever we tell it to do with that. In this case, it's combining it with the previous state. So what we'd want it to do is only update the things that have changed, okay, and then that gets that's what ends up getting into the store, and then it becomes available to our components to use. So that's kind of the flow. I am not an expert in Redux. I've developed one thing that has successfully worked with Redux. So just keep that in mind whenever going through my explanation of Redux. This is a way to do Redux that has worked for me one time. So I don't want to give you the wrong impression that this is the way to do it. But it is a way that does work. Probably not the best way, but I don't really know. Okay, so now having realized that this is sufficient for now, let's just turn this into a Git repo. So let's run Git. Let me move this up a bit. And I realized that my timer, I never started it, and also it's being blocked by my face. So now you can see it. Not that it matters, but it'll give you an idea how much time we have left. So let's git init. Okay, so we've initialized this, and let's go with, so now we can see this is what we have that would be in our Git repository. So we'll see. So when we do create React app, it already came with a git ignore file. So we don't have to worry about that now. If you were doing a project and you weren't bootstrapping it with anything, you would want to have your own git ignore file, or maybe you have a global file. But anyway, so all this stuff doesn't get included, right? So that's why our node modules aren't included when we did a status. So we're going to do a git add, right? Whoops. Git add all. So we need to put the dot for all. Now let's check the status again, right? So everything now is added and it's ready to be committed. So now we'll do a git commit. I'm going to use the M flag, right, to write a commit message right there in line. And I'm just going to say init for our initial commit, right? Now, if we check our status, we're all good, right? Nothing needs to be committed. But we're not actually linked up with GitHub yet, right? There's nothing on there. So that's our next step. Let's go to GitHub. And let me bring this over. So here we have GitHub, and let's make a new repo. I want FUS Marcom, so that's Franciscan University of Steubenville, the Marketing Communications Department where I work, and we're going to call this Bulletin React, and Okay, it's just a little description. We are going to make this public. And do we already have? Yeah, we have a README, so we're not going to initialize with the README. Do we add a license? Let's add a license, and we'll just go with this. That should be fine. I'm not really super knowledgeable about the difference in licenses. I usually look them up every time, but I'm pretty sure that this will be okay for what we're doing. And we don't want to add a git ignore. We already have one. So let's create this. Okay. So now let's actually wait, what are we gonna do? Wait a second. Sorry, usually I'm losing my mind here. I could have sworn that usually another screen pops up initially that has some other options. Did I mess this up? Let me check the live chat, see if I messed it up. Maybe I hit the wrong thing. Let's see. No, nobody said I hit the wrong thing. I need to pull in an existing repository. Is that not? Dang it. It's possible that I just messed this up. Oh well. Oh, okay. So thank you, Jake. Jake said it's because I added the license. So the first commit was the license. Okay. What's going to be faster? It may be faster to just delete this and do it again. Because now I have... Let's just delete it and do it again, honestly. This repository already exists. Yeah, I didn't want to hit back. I just wanted to delete. Alright, okay, so there's some commands. I can just... remote add origin, remote. Alright, I won't delete it. Let's just work with this. Alright, so let's go git remote add origin. Okay, I think this is it. Okay. Alright, so great. Git pull. There's no tracking information. Set upstream. Should be is that it? Okay. Using to merge unrelated histories. So let's just push them, git push. Let's see if it works. Nope. Dang it. Is there some way you can force? Okay. No, refusing to merge unrelated histories again. All right. Let me check the live chat again. Maybe I should just delete the license and then do git push origin master. Yeah, so I tried to do a git push origin master already, and I'm getting maybe doing a pull rebase. Let's just let's see, upload files. Okay, awesome. Okay, so thank you, Matt. I got the flag now. Where's my? There it is. Okay. Yeah, this. Git. Cool. Related histories. Whoa. All right. So it popped up on my other screen to have me put in a merge message. What the heck is this? Where am I at? There we go. Okay, cool. All right. Now let's check it. Make sure it went through. Everything worked. Looks like it worked. Okay, great. So yeah, it was actually kind of cool that happened. I've never had that happen to me before, but it's good to know. So if you're trying to initialize a new repository, probably better just to not add the license, the README, git ignore with GitHub, because then you're going to have to merge like we did here. So this is what ended up working. So thanks again, Matt, for that. Git pull with the flag allow unrelated histories. Okay, so there might have been other ways to do it, probably. Usually with Git, there's definitely like more than one way to do a thing. But that's what worked. But we ended up with two different initial commits. So a little bit sloppy here at the beginning. It's okay. But now we have it. So now basically everything that we've just done is available in GitHub. If I hadn't have added this license, what would have happened is that it would have taken me to a screen that would have had, I think, like 3 different sets of instructions depending on what I wanted to do. One of those sets, I believe it's the middle one, would have had instructions for how to bring in the repository that I had locally into here. So it would have just had me add, like the remote. So pretty much the same steps, only when we did the push, it would have just worked. We wouldn't have to have done the pull, merge, and then push. Okay. Let's see how much time we have. Okay, it's for 13 minutes. Let's see. Let me just take a quick look at where we're at with this project to see if it's worth it to finish out this Pomodoro session or just wait for the next session. Let's see. So we have our linting. We could probably set up a few routes for our views. I just saw in the live chat, Jimmy says, does he reply to his viewers? Yes, I do reply to the viewers, but I go back and forth between coding and replying. So after I finish up this session of coding, I'm going to reply to everything. So just hang in there for a little while longer if you can, and I'll answer any questions that you have. Okay, so yeah, let's go through and just add a few routes that we know that we'll need. So let's get rid of this logo. We won't need that anymore. We're going to take it out. And we're going to take all of this out. We're going to add in a switch. Nope, not that kind of switch. And then we're going to add in some routes. And I think I have some routes that I can copy and paste. Yeah, let's copy and paste a few routes in here just to save us some time. So obviously we're going to want a home route, so we'll stick with that. We'll make a component called home, and then we're going to uncomment that. And let's see, what else do we want? We don't need to create post. Actually, I think these two can stay. What else would we have? Yeah, let's just stick with these three for now. We may want to add some more. I'm gonna have to give this some more thought, kind of look over what we have now, and just see what the best way would be to set these up. But these three I know for sure we'll need. So we have these now. When I save this, I'm going to get an error because these files don't actually exist yet. So we'll get rid of this one and we'll uncomment these. So we need to make a folder called views, and then we need to add these files. So let's go back to our command line and see, obviously we have the error. Let me get rid of some of this as well. Okay. So let's go make directory views, source views, ws views, and I actually want to go into it. It'll just be easier to make multiple files. So we want to make a home.js. Let's see, what did we want? Category.js and post detail.js. Okay, so that should have just made all three of those, and we'll check it out. Yep, so now we have all three of these. So that is not actually done anything because we don't have anything in those files yet. So let's just make something in those files so we can get rid of the errors. So that's what would be the quickest thing we could do. Let me see if I can just copy and paste some, boilerplate stuff in here. Oh well, a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing is way more advanced than boilerplate. Let's see if I can find something really simple. Alright. So I can't find anything really simple right now. I'm just going to have to copy and paste something a little bit more complex and then get rid of a lot. But it's actually not bad because we can see how we hook up some of these things from Redux. So let me just go over this for now. So up at the top we've imported connect, and we're putting in, so we have our map state to props. This is going to make the state, whatever we want from our store, available as props in this component. So in this case, we have our categories available. We also are bringing in our dispatch. So if you remember in our actions, this is how we can pull in and call those actions, right? So for one thing, we now have dispatch available to use, but we can also use fetch. We use fetch data within our component, and that calls this, that dispatches this fetch categories. And we could pass in things if we needed to here. And then, so we're not just normally exporting our component, which in this case I just copied side nav from another project, but we're using connect first, and then we have the side nav there, which there's a name for this. Oh, it's called currying. So when you do it like this, it's called currying. I'm not going to attempt to explain currying because it's a new concept for me that I just learned within the last month. But that's what it's called if you want to look it up and figure out more about what's going on here. So for now, I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need it. Let's see if I can. Just gonna see if I could leave something in here and it wouldn't mess anything up. I guess state dot. We could pull in something. So let's pull something in here. We have get posts. Yeah. So let's pull in posts. I know there's nothing right now, but since we're going to have this stuff at some point, we may as well just bring it in. So state dot. Okay, and for our dispatch, let's just get rid of this for now. And whoops, got rid of the wrong one. We'll probably end up pulling that map dispatch to props back in at some point when we set up our API calls. But for now, we don't have those set up, so I don't want to include them. Let's get rid of a lot of this stuff. So pretty much everything. Let's just keep. Actually, let's do something cool that's React 16. Let's put in. Let me remember the syntax for this. I think it's, we're going to return an array. So let's return an array. Let's do h1 key 1, and then home h1. Let's do p Okay, we are going to have to rename this. And also, we don't need this. And let's pull out, we need connect still, but we're going to. So this is where we would bring in, import some of our actions that we wanted to use that we wanted to dispatch. So for now, we're not going to use any of those. But I guess we could just comment it out since we will be pulling some in. We're not going to use link right now, but we probably will end up having some links. We'll probably have a separate side nav component at some point. So may not use the link here because each post will have its own component, but import styles, app.css. I don't think we have that. Yeah, we don't have styles yet, so we'll comment that out, but we will have styles. We may end up doing some styling a different way. We may do our styles, try to do everything inside the component. We'll see. I like to try out different things styling-wise, especially with React because there's so many different ways of doing styling. But we'll see. Will this work? Maybe this should work for this one. And we can just copy and paste this for all our other views. That was category view. No. All right. Let me change this. Category. All right, let's save that. Now let's go to the home view and put that in there. Great. Okay, save that, and then finally post. Let's call this all right, now let's see if this works. No, I must use the wrong syntax. Alright, I'm gonna have to look up the syntax then. I thought I had it. Yeah, I do have it all the way already up on the screen. Alright, so let me bring this over so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is React version 16. It goes through some of the new stuff, and first thing on here is, okay, so you return it like that. That's what I was going for initially. Let's see if this will work now. And my timer just went up, so this will be the last thing that we do. Let's hope it works. Did it not work? What am I doing wrong? Render, return. I should be able to return that. Is it only for elements that are alike? Oh, do I need to put, maybe I need to do this. Because it's an array, right? That makes sense. Let's see if this works now. Category. It's not showing it. Oh well, I guess I'm doing it wrong, or I didn't read it wrong. It's possible. Yeah, it's possible that maybe you can't do elements that aren't alike. Act elements. Fragments. Yeah, the only example on here does show all the elements are the same elements, so maybe that's the issue. So actually, let's. No, I don't see why that would be an issue. Okay, I could just. I gotta figure this out. I'm not. This will be the last thing that we do. Let's see. 16. All right, so I would like to know before we end the stream what the issue is with this and why it's not working. If I'm misunderstanding this. Okay. All right, let's see. All right, this is talking about this other component. So maybe I am misunderstanding how this is supposed to work. Alright, I'm going to try one more thing, see if it works, and then if it doesn't work, I'm just going to wrap these in another element. And so I'm going to try to make these both paragraph tags. That was, let's see. Let's see, that was our home element. Interesting. Actually, let me fix this page. So it looks like this. I think the error I'm getting is unrelated to this. So it looks like maybe that this would actually work as long as you're using the same tags. So now what is going on here? Okay, so the root component is wrapped in provider. So that should work. So what's going on here? Connect. Let's check out. So we're bringing in provider. We have wrapped this in provider. And then this is inside of that. Okay. That's weird. Alright, let me... It's providing the stores up. Okay, so I got something going on with provider. Oh, you're okay. Harshit, you're right. I'd never passed the store, so. Okay. Thank you for catching that. Okay, awesome. Okay, so home. This is the home page. Let's go to category. This is the category page. Awesome. And if we do category / whatever, it should give us the post detail page. Great. Okay, so this works. We already saw that our store was working. Now we actually are passing the store down. React router is working. We have our routes. And we've done some cool React 16 stuff in that we've returned 2 elements without them being in a containing element. So pretty cool. So far we've used one of the new React 16 cool things that it can do. Alright, so I definitely went over my 25-minute session there. So I'm going to go to the live chat now. It's been a long stream already, so I totally understand if you can't stick around for the live chat. If that's the case, then thank you so much for watching, and join us again sometime, please. But if you can stick around, even if you don't have a question, it would be awesome if you could stick around and help to add your expertise to our answers to the questions. If you do have a question, go ahead and put it in the live chat now. I'm going to do my best to get to all the questions, and if I have an answer, I will give an answer. And a lot of the other people in the live chat are very knowledgeable and can add to the answers. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up to where I left off and just go down through the list. Aman says Redux versus MobX, your views. So I have not used MobX yet. I've watched some YouTube videos on MobX and seen a presentation at a conference on MobX. Based on that, it seems like MobX is easier to use. But as I said, I haven't used it yet. I've only used Redux, so I don't know for sure, from personal experience. I'm not 100% sure which situations would be better in terms of, is MobX a perfect replacement for Redux? Could it be used in every situation? I don't know. So I don't have enough experience with it. So at this point, I'm using Redux because I've learned Redux. That's what I know. I'm definitely open to using MobX in the future, but I would like to get a little bit better with Redux first so that I could make a more informed, comparison when I switch and try out MobX. Rohan asks, what single sign-on provider will you guys be using? Actually, I don't know what they're going with right now. So I'll have an answer for you later on. So like I said, on Friday I'm going to have a meeting. The meeting is actually related to how we're going to brand the single sign-on. There's going to be some discussion about rebranding some of the applications that the university uses. So maybe like a different look, different naming. I'm in favor of just being really simple and straightforward with the naming. So we'll see how that meeting goes. But I am going to bring up tying in this project into the single sign-on system. So I don't know if there'll be anybody at the meeting that's directly working on the technical side of this, but at least I'll be able to figure out who I should talk to that's that can give me the answers about, technically how are we going to tie this in. So maybe for Friday's stream I'll have an answer. Okay, so James Henderson says, it is a pain. Let me know if you have any questions on the single sign-on. Oh, definitely. I appreciate you offering the help. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it has to be somewhat complicated. They've been working on it for a while, so must not be the easiest of things to do. Hugh the dev says, what level of coding is this? I'm fairly new to coding. Should I stay or view your earlier videos? Did get some answers to that already. Blake Thomas says, I'm a beginner, but this is still neat to listen and to pick up a few things. Brett says, I'd stay on, but if you go back to Jesse's first React project using Next.js, you'd be in good shape. That one is simpler to start with. Yeah, basically I would agree with that assessment. So occasionally we do things that are more simple, more beginner friendly. Usually when we do some of the like just building out the UI using CSS and things, that's somewhat more beginner friendly. But sometimes we do get into some back end things, some DevOps, and so those are more advanced. But I think that there are some useful things. I try my best to explain things as I go through, so I think even a beginner could get some useful things out of this if you can make it through all the other parts. Also, the question and answer session is always open to anything. So if you do have a question about something, you need a little bit more explanation, or you have a question that's just entirely unrelated to that project we're working on, that's fine too. So I think you can still get something out of the live streams, but certainly understand if maybe at this point you're not getting a lot out of it. Totally understandable, but definitely ask questions if you can. I'm open to that. Okay, Kevin says, Jesse, just a reminder to check the last few comments whenever there is a bug. Thanks for that, Kevin. You would think that I would remember automatically from now on, but sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. So I'm sure I'll get better at that as I stream more. Okay, Harshit says Redux Saga is also great for async calls in Redux instead of Redux Thunks. Okay, I haven't used Saga yet, but I have heard about it, so maybe I'll try that out. We'll see. I mean, we haven't really done anything yet with Thunk, so it's possible that we could just switch over to Saga at some point. So let me know what you all think. Which one do you think is easier to implement? Is one clearly better than the other one? So at this point, we're just starting out. So now's the time to switch if I'm going to switch. I'll definitely have to do a little bit of learning to figure out how to do it. But yeah, if one's clearly better, then let me know. I'll definitely switch. Tubi asks, what is a thunk? Okay, so probably it would be good to look up Redux Thunks, because I don't know that my explanation is going to be the best. But Redux Thunks are good when you're doing things like API calls, basically to handle. Trying to remember how this was explained initially to me. I've used them and I know they're helpful, but how do I explain this? If anybody has a good explanation, please put it in. I don't see anything right now, but basically, let me see. It's a way to handle asynchronous things in Redux. So someone please correct me if I'm handling this wrong. But I think the best way, it's a way to handle things that would be asynchronous within Redux. Like, Trying to think. I should look up, quickly what the correct terminology is. I don't want to lead anyone astray here. Let's see. Okay. So here's the official explanation. This may or may not help. For those of you who can't see the screen right now, I will read it out. Redux Thunk middleware allows you to write action creators that return a function instead of an action. The thunk can be used to delay the dispatch of an action or to dispatch only if certain conditions are met. The inner function receives the store methods, dispatch, and getState as parameters. Okay, an action creator that returns a function to perform an asynchronous dispatch. Okay, so here's some code example to do the asynchronous dispatch. Here's one to do the conditional dispatch. Okay, so I think in my case, how we'd be using thunks is more like we're going to return. Basically, the idea that we can return a function instead of an action is what's useful to my case. So you can check out as well the repo. Where's it at? Yeah, so this is the repo that I was using before to get some examples when I was copy and pasting things. So we can see where's our reducers, where's our actions. Okay, so here's what I'm doing with some of the actions then. Like I'm using, let's see where I'm pulling this in at. Yeah, so you see in some of my dispatches, and let me actually show you the API as well. I'm kind of flying through this, I know, but you can look at this more slowly if you want to. If you go to my GitHub profile, on that source utils, let's go to the post util. Okay, so here's how I'm calling these, and then I'm returning the data in JSON format. So, like I said, obviously I'm not like completely an expert on thunks. I just know how to use them, and I know that they work. But I can't give a great explanation for it. But anyway, it looks like there's an in-depth introduction to thunks here, so I'm not going to go through it, but here's what it looks like. So yeah, that's pretty long. That might be one of the longest Stack Overflow answers I've ever seen. So anyway, I guess check out the GitHub repo for Redux Thunk. And anyway, sorry I couldn't give you a great explanation, but hopefully I gave you some resources that can explain it better than I can. Oh, okay, cool. Earlier I was mentioning that Windows command line commands are different. So in the case, I was talking about the make directory. So mkdir for Linux and Mac makes a new directory. In Windows, it's md. So, but Harshit also said you can get the bash commands for Windows pretty easily, and you can run Linux subsystem for Windows as well. So that's really cool. If I start developing on Windows again, I'm definitely going to have to set that up. Oh, cool. Harshit also typed in the bare minimum function that I needed when I was looking for to set up the reducers. So thanks, Harshit. I'm sorry I didn't look over at that. That would have been faster, but it's not too bad. We have some basic stuff set up that I know we'll use later on. So I guess it worked out. Let's see. Zli Ninja says, why switch if can do the same job? Harshit responded saying, it is the common practice in the Redux community to use switch to handle action type. So also says, I feel it's more readable personally. So yeah, basically, I mean, that's how I learned to do it. I've never seen it done otherwise. It doesn't seem like it's very useful right now since we only have one case, but usually I have a lot more cases than that. So you can see, I think one of these is my post API utils. Yeah, so you could see, all right, so like for this one, I have like 7 cases here, so this is definitely better than an if statement. Oh, okay. Harshit says, Jesse, please set up ngrok for this project too. I love to see the action live last time. All right, awesome. Thank you for suggesting that. I had completely forgotten about it, so I'm definitely going to try to get that set up as soon as I can, and probably for some of the other projects I can do it as well. So I had an idea for project 3. So that was the project where we were working with .NET framework. So my idea is, since we're basically just working on UI stuff now, and then at some point we were going to hook it up to the content management system, the first stage where we're just working on the UI, we don't really need it to be in .NET framework. What we can do is just pull that out and make it a Git repo and just set it up and run. I don't know, maybe we'll just run it with Gulp as our task runner, and I'll have that on GitHub, and then that way you all can check out all the code easily on GitHub. I can run the project with ngrok. You can see that we don't have to deal with like manually refreshing things or the slowness in general of the website. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So we'll see. I have some other projects coming up, so hopefully at some point this week I can get all that set up, and then you all can even submit pull requests if you want. So I think it'll be a much better way to do it. We can build out everything we want for all the different templates in there, and then when the time comes, we'll just copy and paste everything in, and maybe pull it out into different components and try to hook it all up then. But it would be nice to do it like that, and then I can show it to other people in my department and get feedback. I think it'll be a much tighter like feedback loop in general if we can do it like that. So that's coming too. I'll set up ngrok for that one as well. Matt says, so you're good with Redux now? Let's use the term good loosely and say that I'm good with Redux, right? So, to be more accurate, I have successfully completed one project with Redux, and that was the kind of blog project that allowed you to do comments and vote. So yeah, that was my one project. So yeah, so I'd say good in the very, very loose use of the term good. Let's see. Shine says, hello, sir. What does it do, Redux Thunk, and what is reselect library? I don't know what reselect library is referring to. I guess I'm missing that. So if you could clarify more about that, then maybe I can answer you. As far as Redux Thunk, so I just answered a similar question to that. So go ahead and I just go with what I said there, and that is basically check out the Redux Thunk GitHub page, and there's some examples there and a link to more information. So I don't want to. I did a terrible job of trying to explain it a few minutes ago, so I don't want to attempt it again and throw you off, giving you an explanation that's not accurate. So just go. I'd recommend go right to the source, and that's probably where you're going to get the best information. Kiyoshi says, "This is my first time here. Interesting to see how you do everything in real time. Thanks." You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Yeah, hopefully you can join us again sometime. Rohan says, "What, YouTube 4 times speed? Is that an extension? What extension?" I don't know. I don't know how they did it in 4 times speed, but someone at some point said that they watched my videos in 4 times speed. So yeah, I know YouTube only lets you go to what, like 2 times speed? So it must have been some sort of extension, but I never asked what the extension was. So if anybody knows, put it in the live chat, please, or later on if you're watching the recording in the comments. All right, Duel says, off the topic, where can I find how to use things from Materialize in my CodePen project? In CodePen, you can import Materialize. So if you click on, you have to click on where you import CSS and JavaScript, and so you want to import from the CDN Materialize JavaScript and their CSS. So if you go on the Materialize site under the Getting Started tab, they should have the URLs that you'll need to bring in, and that's how you want to do it. So let me know if you're having trouble with that. Send me a direct message on Twitter. My Twitter, a link to my Twitter account is in the description of this video, and I can help you out more. But just from memory, I haven't actually used CodePen in a little while, but at least that used to be the way that you would do it. I don't think the UI has changed or anything, so that should still work. Okay, so Matt says, Redux Thunk allows you to dispatch multiple Redux actions without returning a type and value. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Matt. That's a very concise way to explain that, so definitely better than my explanation. So Shine again asks, then what is reselect library in making React projects? So again, I don't really know what reselect is. Jake says there's a pretty good flow chart that everyone recommends for React Redux but can't post links. Okay, so evidently there's a good flow chart out there. So we don't have the link, but maybe hopefully it's not too hard to find. So I know I've seen several different pictures of it just to get a visual of the flow, which will probably be easier than my explanation. At least for me, a visual is always pretty easy to grasp. So I know there's a bunch of them out there. So if you want to kind of dig deeper and get a better understanding of Redux, then probably shouldn't take too long to search for that. Harshit says, Jesse, I have a great suggestion for you. If you are using Prettier, use its Atom package. It has linting integration and enable format on submit. That is a good suggestion. Thanks. You know what? Somebody suggested that before, and I just never got around to doing it and just kind of forgot about it. So I'm gonna have to do that. Yeah, that'll probably be good, and then that way I'll automatically get the formatting, and I won't have to wait for a commit. So that will definitely be useful. So thanks for that. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like Matt is commenting on this reselect library. So it says never used it, but it looks like it aims to reduce Redux actions and Redux reducers into one function. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, that's kind of cool. I might like to see that. I mean, right now I'm just learning, so maybe it's better if I keep everything separate, and it'll be easier to understand based on tutorials. But at some point, it might clean things up actually to have them combined. Okay, so Blake says, so I ran npm start and I can't stop it. Okay, and Matt responded, just use Control C, and that works everywhere. Well, at least it works in Linux and Macs. I'm pretty sure it's the same on Windows, but yeah, Control C will get you out of it. All right, Matt has said use a stateless function. Yeah, I'll go through and use stateless functions at some point. Right now, probably gonna end up having to use stateful functions, or I should say, basically using like the class method, if that's what it's called. But you all know what I'm talking about in React, so using the class here. So for a lot of these components, I'm going to end up needing this. So later on, I can go back through then and change them into functional components. But at this point, I'm thinking that I'll probably end up needing it like this. Okay, so Control C does work on Windows. So we got verification of that. Alex says, another React project, you should do Angular, TypeScript, and RxJS or some serious stuff. You know what? I honestly didn't even think about that. Really, since I'm doing the course on React right now, I'm just kind of like trying to do like all React all the time and just multiply my gains here on learning. So I'm not opposed to other things. To be honest with you, if I'm going to do something else right now, I would probably try out Vue. A lot of people that I follow on Twitter seem to be talking about Vue. So I think I'd try that out over Angular, but I'm not opposed to it. We'll see. For my work here at the university, I would actually like to use the same thing for everything, just to make it easier to keep up with, and then potentially if we need to hire more developers, just to be able to like say like this is the skill set we need, and instead of saying like we need somebody that can do all these different things, that are familiar with all these different frameworks. So probably won't use things that are too different from React for these streams, but potentially, I don't know, it could happen. But I can't make any guarantees about it right now. Oh, it looks like a few of you also said Vue, could try Vue. Harshit says, what headphones do you use? I don't know. Let me see. I don't really know. It doesn't say. It just says the logo. It says Steel Series. So I got these so long ago. I can't remember. I can't remember what they are. I could maybe look back at my Amazon history and see. So I got them from Amazon. I think they were around $50, $60, something like that. I really can't remember because it's been so long. But I like these headphones. They're comfortable. I can wear these all day, and my ears maybe will get a little bit sore, but generally, like they're pretty good. If you're like all about sound, probably you want to get better ones. It does have a retractable mic, so I can use this, but it doesn't work with Mac. So it's just a regular like headphone jack. It doesn't work with a Mac. It works with my Android phone as a mic. So I guess keep that in mind. I had kind of got these before I really started working with Macs. But, so I'd probably go with something different. I mean, I have another mic for this Mac, but it'd be good to have it maybe like for my laptop. But anyway, if anybody's really interested in what these headphones are, let me know, because I'll look it up in my Amazon purchase history, and then I can get you exactly what information about exactly what these are. Now that I'm actually showing my face on YouTube, I was thinking about getting one of those like ridiculous like gamer headphones that lights up different colors and things, just so it's a little bit more interesting. I don't know. What do you think? Do you have any suggestions? Let me know. Okay. All right. I'm getting almost to the bottom here of the live chat. Okay. Somebody mentioned semicolons, and Rohan says they're entirely optional in JS. Yeah. So if it looks weird that I'm not using semicolons, it is weird. I mean, it's definitely weird if you're not used to seeing it like that. But yeah, you don't need semicolons. I don't want to start any trouble here because sometimes people get strong opinions about this, whether or not you should use semicolons. I like it. I like not using semicolons. To me, it's like, as long as the code's still readable and it works, then typing less is better than typing more. So that's how I feel about it. I have heard, and I can't remember exactly when, but there are some use cases where you want the semicolon in, because it doesn't work how you think it would, but it's been my experience that's rare. So I don't know. It would just depend on what you're using it for. So if you're thinking about quitting semicolons, then I would check it out first to see in what cases you shouldn't do it, and then see if those cases ever come up for you. And if they don't, then then get rid of the semicolons. But yeah, for my projects, I don't like semicolons, but it doesn't bother me if other people use semicolons. Let's see. Oh, okay. So James Henderson had a follow-up before he had mentioned to let him know if I needed help with the single sign-on stuff. So he said it's somewhat easy. It depends on the product. I've also tested SSO, single sign-on. That is where there are some fun times as there is for the dev team. So, all right. So evidently it does. That makes a lot of sense. It depends on the product. I mean, that's. I guess that's been my experience with several other things as well. James also says the only dumb question is the question you don't ask, and that is sometimes the only way you learn. Please don't take that as being rude. I always learn from the videos. Yeah, definitely. So if anybody's right now watching and you got a question, you're not sure if you should ask it, ask it. Don't worry about it. Just ask the question, and as long as it's not like something really offensive, I'm going to answer it. So certainly anything developer related, I'll answer for sure. So yeah, but don't think the question's too like beginner or anything like that. Like I'm not going to make fun of anybody for any questions. Although if you've been watching for a long time, and I might be able to get away with making fun of you. Let me know if you don't like that though. But there's some of you that have been watching for so long on the live stream. I feel like we have enough of a relationship that we could joke. But if you're new, I will not. Nobody's going to make fun of you, and if they do, I will tell them not to. Blake says, he asks, what is the best free course on React and or inexpensive courses? Something about courses that are free. Code Academy has React stuff that's free. I think it's pretty good for basics for starting out. I think. Other than that, I pretty much just watched YouTube videos for React stuff, and just read. I didn't really do a course, and the Udacity course I'm obviously doing, but it's not inexpensive. I guess it depends on what you consider inexpensive too. Yeah, so I don't know that I have any other suggestions that I've used personally. Kevin says, Jesse, what is your opinion on functional programming? JavaScript is somewhat compatible with this paradigm, and React, Redux are based on functional programming principles. I think you also mentioned currying. Yeah. So I mentioned currying when we were talking about like this stuff down here as currying. So, and I think I said I'm not going to attempt to explain currying right now because I don't think I could do a great job at it. So you could check out, search currying, and it's not really a complex thing. I just would rather not mess up your understanding if this is the first time you heard about it. Yeah, in terms of functional programming, from what I've read about it, I guess I like it. I know that's weird to say. As compared to like object-oriented programming, I honestly do think it makes sense with JavaScript. I don't really think that I'm at a point where I can have a really informed opinion about it. So I guess I don't feel like I have enough knowledge about things to really make a call like one way or another. All I can say is that from what I understand, I think I would prefer it to object-oriented stuff with JavaScript. So let's see. I just got a message from my boss, so I'm going to have to wrap this up quickly because he wants me to go to his office. So Kevin saw we're at authorization, whatever you want. Yeah, that was the actual example for the project, so I just stuck with it. Harsh says, any plans on GraphQL? Yeah, I'd love to use GraphQL at some point. Not sure when, but I would definitely want to. Let's see. Rohan says, the Steel Series Siberia 100. Yeah, I think that's it for the headphones. Blake says, thoughts on React license change? I was pleasantly surprised by it. So I wasn't that worried about the old license for me personally. But I like the move. I think it's good for React, and it's definitely good for developers. Not a legal expert though, so that's my uneducated opinion. Let's see. Let's see. All right. All right. So if I missed your question, I'm really sorry about that. You can ask me on Twitter or in the comments, but my boss is messaging me on Slack several times now, so I need to go in there and see what's up. And anyway, thank you so much for watching. Should be back tomorrow around 2 p.m. Eastern time. And until then, have a great day.